Good morning. It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency. I don't know why this mic is moving like it was. It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. I would like to say good morning and I thank you and I appreciate you for being here in this shared space that we find ourselves in the mornings, 7:30 in the morning for those who are on Central Standard Time. Those on Eastern Standard Time, it's 8:30 in the morning for you. Whether you want Pacific Standard Time, whatever that time is for you, that's what time it is. But good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's show is going to be very interesting, and I think that today's show is going to be a blessing for those who listen. So what I want you to do right now, those that are watching, go ahead and take this live and share it. Share it on your news feed. Share it in the Facebook group because I believe it's going to touch someone. It's going to put them in a different headspace. It's going to allow them to just kind of redesign some things and some thoughts as well. Miss DJ, how you doing, ma'am? Uh, Miss, I don't. Was that a? Okay, I see Chris. I don't know if that's male or female. No disrespect. I ain't got my glasses. But good morning, and I appreciate you. Like always, here at Consistency is Currency, we start in a spirit of gratitude. We start in a spirit of peace. Because the same way I join, the same way I would like to walk away from you in peace. And again, like always, if you don't get gratitude anywhere, you know that you can get it here in the morning at 7:30 here. And we thanking everybody that's right now listening on the replay on a podcast distribution, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podbean. Where else we at? Spotify, Anchor, all of that stuff. So if you haven't listened yet, make sure you tap in. Miss Scott, long time no see. How you doing? I appreciate you for being here. Today is going to be a blessing. I'm telling you, today is going to be a blessing today. We're talking about it's all learnable. So as you can see right now, the question that is proposed right here, bam, 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 is are you learnable? The question is, are you learnable? If you don't know what learnable is, today you're going to learn what learnable is. But are you learnable? Now, for me, I'm going to be transparent. Like, I did not like yesterday's show. I didn't. I felt myself like chasing my words, chasing things, and it didn't sit right with me. I didn't even upload it because I don't like things aren't well. So I had to come back, and it really put me in this space that I'm in right now, which is it's all learnable. So put learnable inside the chat. If you want to be learnable today, if you want to learn what being learnable is, put learnable inside the chat and go ahead and take this live and share it because this is going to be so much of a blessing because it was a blessing for me just preparing it. And I know it's going to be a blessing for you, for those who are listening to it, because it's going to really touch a spot. It's going to really, yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. All right, here we go. It's dope, I'm telling you. Learnable, 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 learnable. Learnable is also kind of like being vulnerable, right? Think about that. Being learnable is kind of like being vulnerable. If you feel that, if you feel and understand being learnable is kind of like being vulnerable, again, put learnable in the chat. Because this right here is going to open your mind. It's going to put you in a different space. It's going to allow you to see things differently. It's going to allow you to be okay with not knowing. It's going to allow you to be okay in the process that's going to take you in order for you to get you to where you're going. Prepare what you did for the past 11 months. Today is prepare what you're going to do for tomorrow. Today is your month. It's going to prepare you to do what it is that you're going to need for you to take on next year, grab it by the horns and say, you're mine, this is mine, and what I'm going to obtain is based off of what I learned. Because learnable is kind of like being vulnerable. All right, let's go. All right, so for those that are new to the platform, you're gonna get inversions Uh, you're going to get red over white. So if you hear me say red over white, I want you to pay attention to the words that are in red. If I say white over red, I want you to pay attention to the words that are in white, because you're going to get definition of words. And I didn't do the etymology. I should have done the etymology. It just hit me, but it's okay. Today is dope enough for you to learn something anyway. All right, so let's go with the first definition of learnable. The first definition of learnable, as you can see, is to gain knowledge, information, comprehension, or skill. To gain knowledge, information, comprehension, or skill. And the inversion that I want you to pay attention to, now this is interactive. So if I say red over white, then you put how you see red over white. If I say white over red, then you put in the comment how you see white over red. But the first inversion that I want you to pay attention to is white over red, is to gain comprehension. Learnable, to gain comprehension. Now, everything that you see is something that you can go back and you can look up and you can learn yourself, because there's nothing that I'm talking about that you won't acknowledge, or that you cannot go back and research for yourself. Because success, yes, it does leave clues, but are you willing to look at the clues that are being left in order for you to go back and research and tap into it to allow it to be applied to yourself? Again, to gain knowledge, information, comprehension, or skill. And the inversion again is white over red, to gain comprehension. Like, what are you comprehending? Because once it becomes learnable, then it becomes gained. Right? So if we flip it in the red over white, it is knowledge, it is information, or skill. Because knowledge applied is what? Wisdom. Because knowledge, if knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence, then what we are learning has to be grounded on the foundation of knowledge. It has to be grounded on the foundation of what you learn. Because information is the new currency. And I want you to pay attention to that. Information is the new currency. You can talk about what you want to make next year. You can talk about what you want to make on the job. But if you don't obtain more information, there will be no shift in your currency. Information is the new currency, and skill is a commodity. Skill is a commodity. Your talent is your commodity. Because most of us don't even know what our commodities are, but we want to apply them, but we don't know how to apply them. Because that's why we don't use them. Because we don't know what our commodities are. I mean, I think that might be tomorrow's conversation is what are your commodities? You know what? I'll use that for tomorrow. What are your commodities? So if you're listening to it now, make sure you come back tomorrow, because we're going to be tapping into what your commodities are. But again, that's the whole conversation for tomorrow, what your commodities are. Because your skill is a commodity. Your talent is a commodity. And the next definition of learn is capable of being learned. Capable. Right? Like, what are you capable of learning? I think a lot of times we don't reach our goals, and we don't reach different levels. We don't reach different planes, and we plateau because we're not allowing us to be fulfilled in the capacity of the learned. We don't allow ourselves to be fulfilled in capacities that we are learning from, because we don't feel like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be there. Of course you're not supposed to be there, because you already told yourself that's not where you should be. Or I'm nervous, or I'm afraid, or man, keep denying yourself because you are afraid of maximizing your capacity. Keep denying yourself. I forgot to go into the inversion. Capable of being learned. The inversion on this is red over white. Like, what are you capable of? And are you maximizing that capability? because you're capable of being successful. You're capable of being strong. You're capable of being healed. You're capable of being patient. You're all those things you're capable of, but you will not be capable of anything until you become learnable. It is a process. Learnable is a process only fulfilled by those who are maximizing their natural capacity in order to be. Like, what have you been trying to do that you felt like that you can't get it? I'm telling you right now, it's all learnable. I'm telling you from a place of experience, it's all learnable. And you're capable of being that person that you want to be, but you have to be learnable. You have to put yourself in a place of risk, or you have to put yourself in a place of being uncomfortable before you become that person that you are striving to be, because you have to be open enough to put yourself in the path that will take you ultimately towards your destiny. You're going to get there. And the next definition is able to be learned. And the inversion on this is white over red. Able to be. Don't you know the word able is also kind of like that, being in that vulnerable space? I'm able to be, but I have to be willing to be. You have to be willing. It's not something that someone gives you. It's something that you have to receive. Like, I have to be willing to receive it in order for me to obtain it. Yeah, I can go out and get it, but are you willing to go out and get it? Are you able to go out and get it? Because some of us aren't able to do anything more than where our situation is, because we don't see past it. We haven't developed what our what next is, because we're not paying attention to what we are right now. We aren't able to be more than what mama was, or we aren't able to be more than what daddy was, or what our environment was, because we're not even willing to be learnable. We want to talk about being teachable, but you can't even close your mouth long enough to be taught. You want to talk about being teachable. Some of you parents out there are trying to teach your children things that you haven't even learned yet. Don't teach me anything if you haven't even learned it. Because that's how hurt people hurt people. But you have to be able to be learned. Sit your tail down and open your heart and open your ears and become learnable. If you have the ear to hear, you can then begin to develop the tongue of the learned, because out of the heart the mouth will speak. We all know what foolishness sounds like. We all know what being crazy sounds like. We all know what an unlearned person sounds like. You're like, man, where you get that from? Like, that don't make any sense. Like, why did you say that? But when you start to learn new things, you start to learn more things about yourself, or learn more things about the history, learn more things about your family, then you begin to learn how you are able to change a generation just by the lessons that you learn. Like, for me, just being transparent, like when I was coming up, my grandfather, God bless the dead, my grandfather, loved him dearly. But when we were young and we used to see him walking down the street like drunk, like toe up drunk, and he'll come in and he's walking down the street and he's yelling and singing like everybody knew he was coming. But as he come into the house and he's drunk and yelling and trying to swing on my grandmother and stuff like that, those things I remember. And since that moment, that's why I don't like alcohol myself. Like, that was a learnable moment for me. Like, I learned what I don't want to look like just by seeing what I was able to see. That became a learnable moment. So what learnable moments do you need to now pay attention to in order for you to take yourself out of where that family trauma or history was, or to take yourself out of that path that is taking you down the wrong way? Actually allow yourself to be able to learn. You got that son that need to be healed, but the father need to be healed first. I can speak about that from an honest and experienced standpoint. We want to be teachable. Don't you know sometimes people want to be teachable so much that they hit that wall of familiarity? Because you always want to be the one that teaches everybody everything, but you struggling within your own self. I'm gonna leave that alone. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's learn, because it's all learnable. It is all learnable. So we're gonna take this deep dive, and we're gonna close it out, right? So what I want you to know is that your losses become your lessons only when you are willing to learn from them. I think we've all been there at least once. Hell, some of us are there right now. Your losses become your lessons only when you are willing to learn from them. And one of the greatest gifts that we were all given is the ability to learn. And we all share that unlimited potential to learn, but we cap our learning plethora of things, whether it is self-doubt, whether it is pity, whether it is emotions, whether it's self-sabotage, or it's negligence, or it's arrogance or ignorance. We all, I ain't gonna say we all, because some of us don't. I mean, I've grown past that part, but that comes with experience. And all of those things that we allow to stronghold us from the process of learning, it really prevents us from growing, and it prevents us from loving, and it prevents us from living, and it prevents us from fighting to be successful. Because don't you know that being learnable is really being intentional? It's really being deliberate in what you fight for. Because don't you know you won't win until you fight? I mean, for real, you won't win anything in life until you are willing to fight, until you're willing to fight for it, until you're willing to fight to have it, until you are willing to fight and do all that it's going to take for you to not just be successful, to do all that it's going to take for you to close those generational gaps, because someone has to learn. Because imagine becoming learnable. Because some days you'll win and the other days you won't. But what you learn during the process is what develops you for your future you. Because when you know what you want, then you know what you're willing to do to learn it. Your reality is shaped by what you learn. Today's price, trust me, is not yesterday's price. If your promise and your purpose clear enough for you, trust me, you are willing to pay the price for tomorrow's success. You have to look at the value of it because it becomes valuable. And I'm going to say that again. If your promise and your purpose are clear enough for you, you trust me, you will pay the price for success. Because when you learn that setting yourself up for next year really takes you to sit down this year and to become learnable. There's going to be plenty of people out there who's going to be talking about, oh, I got a New Year's resolution, but you're not putting yourself into the line of of whatever your resolution is going to be if you're not allowing yourself to even learn from what you did this year. It's going to take those learnable moments. It's going to take the bumps and the bruises that you may had in January and February, and the stuff that you said that you was going to do by the summertime, and here it is fall and it's still haven't been done, or winter and it still haven't been done. But you want to talk about some Happy New Year and go to vision board workshops and all this stuff, but your vision wasn't clear enough then. But until you figure out how to clarify your vision now, you will still pay the price for what you didn't do yesterday. I don't know who was supposed to hear this, but you're going to hear it today. Hey, we just need to be more learnable. And kind of like I said in the beginning, being learnable is almost like being vulnerable because you have to open yourself up to do so. I'm going to say that again. Being learnable is almost like being vulnerable because you have to be open enough and to be willing enough to learn. Because if the word learn is defined as the process of acquiring knowledge, then what are you willing to acquire during the process? Ooh, I might need to write that down. If learning is the process of acquiring knowledge, then willing to acquire during the process. That might need to be somebody's Facebook post. But make sure you give me my doggone credit when you do it. But let's be more open to learning. Because I know for me, sometimes being learnable comes from conviction, right? Being vulnerable or being learnable can come from a conviction. Because again, for me, like I didn't become uh, a certified meta marketer until I was convicted from seeing somebody else do it, right? But I only felt convicted because I seen somebody else's greatness and I felt convicted. I'm like, man, I'm great too. And that feeling that I had on the inside had converted into empowering me to go out and get it myself. So my convictions became my personal empowerment in order for me to face those things that I know that I can do, and I had to go out and get it. So be open to learning, Be open to empowering yourself. Be open to being vulnerable and being open to be learnable. Learnable is closing your mouth and opening your ears. Learnable is sitting your tail down and being able to absorb what needs to happen, because a lot of times when we strive to become teachable, we are missing the information because we're always are there to be taught. But what if you are there to learn? Learning is the process of absorbing. And when you absorb that information, then you soak it in, then you're able to what? You're able to speak not just from a place of experience, but also speak from a place of wisdom and speak from a place of peace, because you had to be sat down in order for you to learn something. So now you can pour back into somebody else, because that process of learning poured inside of you. That process of learning breathed life into those dry bones that was in the valley that you left there, that was left for dead. But learning is going to give you that second wind. Being learnable is that second wind that you might need to stir up your gifts and to put yourself again in that place of not just perfect peace, but also to put your place in that place of vulnerability in order for you to learn. All right, that's enough. Hey, man, I'll see you tomorrow here at Consistency is Currency. And tomorrow we're gonna be talking about your commodities. So if you're here right now, I want you to look up the word commodity. So you got some homework, and we're gonna see it tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna be talking about your natural commodities. I already gave you one. Well, I gave you two. I already gave you two commodities. If you remember what those two commodities are, go ahead and put it into the chat. Not that I'm gonna send you something, but put it into the chat just to get some check on learning, because you have natural commodities. All right, that's enough. Hey, man, I see you guys tomorrow here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Share this with somebody. They gonna need it too. Y'all be blessed. Peace.